All right, welcome back to OBT. Thank you for joining us again. We are with Andres and we are with Tom. Today we are talking about Jose Mourinho. No surprise, seems to be the topic of conversation with everybody these days. What's he has to do to stay? Is he already gone? Tons of questions. I guess the one that we should really just basically kick things off with, there have been reports that have come out that said that Mourinho, basically in the beginning of the season, his goal was to get into top four and win a cup. If he does that, Tom, I'm going to start with you. If he does that, if he gets to the top four of the next 10 matches, let's look at some facts, right? We are 6 points away from the top four with a match in hand. We have 10 matches to go, and we have a league final. Doesn't feel like those are good things, but that's the reality of the situation. And I think we're in a little bit of a better place than that we've spoken about, or at least how it feels. What does he have to do for the remainder of the season to keep the job, even if he can keep the job? Which he probably won't, but go ahead.
It's just a question of really what he... I mean, we've seen that we can play good football against the likes of Crystal Palace, Burnley, Leeds. You know, we play nice attacking football, and it's when he sets us up to defend is when we seem to fall, like against Arsenal. We just didn't look up for it. We weren't pushing up the field, whether that's Mourinho or the players. That's a different question and conversation completely. But like today again, Arsenal, West Ham, we can see what happens when players push. Like West Ham were relentless. Sorry. West Ham were relentless in the first half, 3-1 at half time. That's something we could have easily done if we pushed, if we attacked, and that's what we need to do for the rest of the season, is to pick up points, as many points as we can, and hopefully make a breakthrough into the top four. I mean, we're not far off, as you said. It's just a question of how Mourinho approaches and utilises the team that he's got. Like I said, we've seen that we can do it. We can play nice attacking football. It's just how we go on from here, I guess.
We can talk about tactics in a second, but the first thing I want to ask Andres is something Tom just brought up. Should he be able to do that? Should be able to turn the switch? If there was a redemption arc that was about to start, which, personally I don't think so, but if there were some kind of redemption arc and he were able to get into top four, and we were somehow able to beat Man City based on their form, looks like an impossibility. Is that enough for you? Is it enough for fans? Is it enough for Daniel Levy?
In bigger picture, we brought him in and we got rid of Pochettino because we wanted a serial winner, right? And we wanted someone who knew how to get teams across that finish line, because Pochettino simply did not have that experience. I think it'd be extremely accurate to say that this has been a step backward from, this season has been a step backward from where the heights that Pochettino got us to, right? And I would even venture to say that even if we do win the Carabao Cup, it's maybe, it just depends on how you value it, right? Like Carabao Cup, is it as good as the final of Champions League? Again, it's silverware, but also it's the final of the Champions League, right? So I do think that one thing that Mourinho does have going for him is that he's shown that he can recruit. Bringing in the likes of Rodon, bringing in the likes of Bergwijn, these are really good acquisitions that obviously have made very little impact so far, but they're no doubt going to play a big role, not maybe in the upcoming games and definitely in the upcoming seasons. So that tells me if he is able to get top four, if he does win Carabao Cup, I do think it's still a bit disappointing of the season, especially with Mourinho, the special one, at the helm. That being said, if he does do that and Levy does keep him on, I do get a little bit of sense of excitement and maybe a little bit of sense of safety in knowing that our summer transfer window, I don't think it'll be huge, but I do think that he does have the ability to have to bring in good acquisitions, as opposed to be completely frank, Pochettino, who brought in good transfers at the same time, around 50% hit rate, something like that, with other transfers like Nkudu just not working out. So all in all, do you think that there is a little bit of excitement for me if he does stay on, if we do win silverware, and if we are top four?
Yes, Andres, 100%. If obviously who he would be able to recruit would obviously be dependent on where we finished at the end of the year. Both of you have kind of skirted the question just slightly by not really saying has it been enough. There hasn't been a definitive yes or no, and I understand. I understand why. I mean, there are a lot of fans. If you ask them tactically, they would say, "Oh, it's net negative football. It's net negative football," and I don't think that is his intention. In fact, I'm pretty sure that, like we were talking about before, the only English word Zhao actually knows, I think, is press. Because if you watch the match for 90 minutes, he's screaming it at the players from the sideline to move up, to move up, to move up, to try to put on the pressure, to try to force a turnover and press the opposition. But it hasn't happened. It's not. I don't know if it's a disconnect between training and what happens on match day. I don't know if like the first thing that goes wrong in a match, all of a sudden all the players go, well, here we go again, and they just the confidence just rushes out their bodies. But I guess I'll direct this towards Tom. Is this more of a classic Mourinho isolationism with the players, not really communicating well, and deflection? Is it? Have we come to that now where we saw how he ended with Chelsea and United, where he would basically tell the media, be fully transparent, be like, hey, I'm telling these guys what to do. It's just it's the players. They're not doing what I want them to do. I'm starting to feel a little bit of that. Has he lost the dressing room? Even if we win everything that we can win this year, top 4 cup, if he lost the dressing room, where are we at that point?
I mean, we've seen a lot of inside news where the players aren't happy with his training methods, stuff like that. But then, even then, we had that with Pochettino. So I honestly think it could be just an attitude problem, and that comes from the fact that we still have a lot of the same players that we did, 3 or 4 years ago. And that begs the question, does a manager change really affect that? We definitely have an attitude problem. We've seen time and time again we'll go 1-0 up and not capitalise on that, and let the other team come back into the game, creep back into the game, which just boils down to the point that it most likely is an attitude problem with the players, and that I don't know if any manager could deal with that, especially Mourinho. We've seen him; he loves to throw players under the bus, and I don't think that helps at all.
Andres, same question.
I think that to Tom's point about throwing players under the bus, I do think that it worked with Ndombele for sure, but at the same time it must be like so much whiplash for Spurs players going from Pochettino, who's like very, very supportive and very, very like human and focuses on building each other up, etc. And going to Mourinho, who's almost kind of like a despot, right? And I understand that there's been players that would die for him for sure, and that some of his methods might work. But again, maybe it's just a bit more jarring for Spurs players. As far as the question goes, for me, it's not enough. It really isn't. Going from Champions League final, playing the type of football that we were playing at the time, to Carabao Cup, that again, I don't believe that we'll win. But even if we do, and in the top 4 finish, it's not enough for me, and it's something that I would imagine Mourinho himself would say this is a stepping stone for next season, right? I don't think he would be happy with it. I think he came in for the season having much higher, grander hopes than scrapping a top 4 finish and scrapping the Carabao Cup.
If he does go, if Daniel Levy pulls the plug, I think a year, all of a sudden we have a rebuilding process. I think in our other video we spoke about how Kane is associated with maybe a forced fresh rebuild. I feel like with the players that we have, I think you're down to 2 options, right? If you keep the core of the group that we have and you say, you know what, it's not the players, it's been the managers, whatever, we're going to stick with what we have, I think you need to bring back in a players manager, just like you said, Poch was. They seem, if you look back to the moments, the sheer moments of passion, glory, whatever cliche you want to put up to it, it's always with, it's always with Poch in Amsterdam, and when Harry Winks scored that 90th minute, and you can name like a whole bunch where it seemed like a father-son moment for a lot of teams. Clearly, the relationship with Dele has deteriorated to something that's just almost, irreparable at this point. It's only a matter of time till he goes as well. So, who would you bring in potentially if that was it? Let's say we lose Harry, we lose Jose. Who do you bring in as a players manager? I have a weird wild card that I've been keeping in the back of my mind. But Tom, I'll start with you. Do you have anybody on top of your list you would like to see?
I think Nagelsmann would be a good shout because he's got Leipzig playing some great football. They have a similar team to us in terms of attacking players. But then we've also had shouts with Brendan Rodgers. He did good with Liverpool, Leicester. I think our situation sort of applies similarly to how they were at the time when he came in. He also, I feel like he's a good player manager. He knows what he's doing with the players. And I do rate him as a coach as well. It could be a shout, but in the long run, maybe not. It's a difficult question to answer because it's with the current team, who knows where the team might be in the next year or so. But I think those two top shouts.
Yeah, I like Rodgers. I think he's proven a lot since he went to Leicester. But I mean, does somebody like Rodgers leave a team that's on the up like Leicester for Spurs? I know we're the bigger club, and we have to say that, right? But if you look at results for the last couple of years, I mean, especially this season, where do you want to be? But I think that's regardless of that. Andres, any names on your list you'd like to see?
First of all, Tom, I think that those are really good shouts, and I even think I saw like an ITK or like someone put in a tip that Nagelsmann would be interested in the position. And that's just rumored, but I think he would be a phenomenal shout. Before I give mine, actually, John, you said you have a wild card. Is your wild card Chris Wilder?
No, that would have been a really, really. No, I wish it was. That's good.
Who is it?
Mine would be Gennaro Gattuso. I think he's like the ultimate players manager. I think he did. He put a lot of structure into AC Milan before they swapped him out. But he got his players rolling, and I think he brings that same Poch level of passion. I would love to see somebody like him to really smack people around on day one in training. He trained with them. I think that's something we've been missing. Somebody in the trenches with him. I'd like to see Gattuso.
That's another great shot, and that's something that I didn't even consider. For me, it's just so hard. I think Nagelsmann would be ideal. I think some of that for me definitely is like wanting to return to like Pochettino's prime of high pressing, high energy football. But maybe the way forward is not that. I think someone who would be a good shot for this position is Hasenhüttl. I don't know, I'm probably mispronouncing that. But he's at Southampton. He's built a great project there. Yes, they've been getting spanked a couple of times, but I do think it just comes down to the quality of player that he has. For the most part, his game plan seems pretty spot on. And my wild card actually, which I don't think will happen, I'm blanking on his name right now. Brighton and Hove Albion manager. Graham Potter, yes. So I'm not a huge, don't get me wrong, I don't think that XG and XA are the most important things in life, but you watch them play and they play really, really good football. Really
for the talent that they have, they do unbelievably well, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that he will get this first position. I do think that it's too big for him, but I am excited to see him join a mid-tier / maybe even like an Everton kind of tier club where he has a bit more quality to work with. Not to disparage Brighton because they've done a great job this season.
Haven't we done enough to Southampton? Haven't we taken enough from poor Southampton. Maybe we should just leave them alone for a little bit.
Okay, here's the thing though. Wouldn't Real do the same to us, right? It's just how the food chain works, you know? Like at the end of the day, you just got to take what's available, what you think is going to work for you. Because the moment you start having that, like, you know, we've taken enough from them, that's when you're cutting yourself off from real talent.
All right. Well, I think that's a lot about Mourinho. Thanks, Andres. Thanks, Tom, once again. We'd love to hear from you guys what you think. The question isn't whether or not Mourinho stays or goes. I think we all agree that he should probably leave at this point. The question is, will Daniel Levy think it's enough for Mourinho to stay if we hit top 4 and we win the League Cup final? So let us know in your opinions and your comments. Like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.